Developed in the mid-1990s, social media has almost been around for as long as I have been alive. For the majority of people with access to 21st century technology, these online networking sites have become a critical, everyday part of their lives. They provided a platform to interact virtually and enable the sharing of professional and user-generated content. Despite all the benefits social media has brought globally, certain critics still argue that it is detrimental to society. In this presentation, I will address the statement that everyone knows the media is bad for society, with a specific focus on social media. Through identifying common misconceptions surrounding social media, I aim to explore the effects it has on individuals and our global society. When asked to define social media, words such as instantaneous, connected, accessible, and interactive often come to mind. Conversely, those opposed to this virtual revolution would connect themes of sex, violence, offensive language, and drug use to social media. In today's society, it is becoming increasingly popular for people to look to sites such as Facebook and Twitter to blame for human reaction. As David Gauntlet explains in his book, 10 Things Wrong with the Effects Model, published in 1998, we are tackling social problems backwards. That is, we start with violent media and look for correlations to connect it with acts of real violence. Evidence of this theory was identified by Stephen Harrington in the first lecture when he gave the example of Melinda Tankard-Reist, a blogger, who believed that Kanye West's music video to song Monster, quote, increases desensitized and callous attitudes towards violence against women. Now, whilst it can be justified that media impacts different audiences in different ways, it is preposterous to assume that men will develop violent tendencies and have no empathy for us purely as a result of this type of selective media. Furthermore, her argument relates to another point in Gauntlet's book, in that the context of this violent and sexually explicit material isn't considered. Reist is making the assumption that we as the audience can't distinguish between real and fake violence. Like many others, Reist believes that any mediated sexual and violent behaviour will result in real-life repercussions. Her argument helps to solidify the accusation that media is bad for society. However, it denies the possibility of abusive upbringings impacting a later violent life. In the Week 5 lecture, Harrington discusses some of the perceived physical and social dangers and effects of social media. He begins by identifying some common dangers that critics associate with social media, such as the risk of online predators, privacy breaches, and that the web is a site of reckless behaviour. What these critics fail to point out is that these dangers have been around long before social media was even invented. Harrington also explores the physical and social effects of social media as being that it is addictive, changes personalities, replaces offline interactions, and is resulting in poor physical development. Interestingly, online media marketer Don Crowther supports and agrees with these effects and suggests that Facebook is not a real way of communication in his article, 12 Signs That Facebook is Ruining Your Life. He believes that it has become an addiction if you are spending more than 20 minutes on Facebook per day. Crowther fails to explore the global communicated benefits that Facebook and other online networking sites have brought to society. So perhaps the real problem is that as a global society, we are opposed to new nations that change how we communicate and challenge how we interact with each other. This relates to the topic of the third lecture when Harrington discusses the notion of media moral panics and how they arise when power is decentralised and democratised, like with social media. Moral panics, as Catherine Lumby and Duncan Fine state in their book, Why TV is Good for Kids, Raising 21st Century Children, published in 2006, refer to hyperbolic fears, not to real-life moral dilemmas. He goes on to say that this fear eventually dissipates over time once the benefits are more clearly identifiable to even the harshest of critics. Although surrounded by much controversy, social media has revolutionised global communication whilst encouraging the creation of user-generated content. As Gauntlet states in his book Media Studies 2.0, published in 2007, creativity and communication were not invented by the internet, of course, but websites and online services can certainly help to amplify and connect those activities. Furthermore, the invention of this platform has created thousands of careers for people all across the web sphere. Unlike what critics say, social media is not bad for society and should not be blamed for the conscious choices humans make. Instead, it has become an enormous phenomenon that continues to surpass all expectations and predetermine success with ever-growing global potential.